said to him is, you lot caused the problems by carrying this. But this is where our, the punishments in courts are ridiculous. There was an officer called PC Ince recently in Yarmouth who actually got sentenced to 16 months in prison for having grade A, which are the worst type of pictures of young kids, 12 to 4-year-old girls. And he just got 16 months in prison, and he's a policeman. So
yeah, I'm not going to be commenting on that one, man.
Yeah, but you should be, because it's your force, There was a guy recently, I've actually got it up on my phone now, and I haven't set this up, by the way, in case you have. I haven't. But it was only last week. And it was basically an officer who works at Wyndham who's been caught shagging a 14-year-old kid on Tinder, claiming he's 18. If you saw a 14-year-old, are there many 14-year-olds that look really old, like in their late 20s? You would still think they look young, wouldn't you? So
I'm not going to speak on that.
We're just having a good conversation.
Yeah,
now you don't want to talk.
I know, but then I'm not going to comment on conversations like that.
But it's important because you're part of the police force, that I'm supposed to keep my say.
Well, you should say it's wrong.
Yeah.
It's wrong, isn't it?
Totally wrong.
Yeah.
Totally
That's all you need to say. That's all you need to say, buddy.
It's totally wrong, but I'm not going to be drawn into a conversation about that subject. I totally disagree with it. It's disgusting, but
would you say that the recruitment in the police force needs to be a bit thorough if this is consistent? Because from a recent Freedom of Information request between 2016 and 2019, there's been 19 police officers that have been struck off from your police force for crimes against women and children, exploiting them. And that's a fact. And that scares me. And when you lot say, oh, okay, I can't talk about it, I'm thinking, okay, well, do you have a duty of care to the public, or do you just want to get paid? Is my problem.
But then there's the conversation with people who you need to speak to in regards to the constabulary itself, rather than just individual police officers out doing.
But that can be you personally, and your oath actually stand under that, in my opinion, responsibility of being able to have conversations with people like me that are just members of the public that want it to be safer, And if your own police force are corrupt, you should be able to look back and think, hold on a sec, if we're corrupt and I'm not allowed to talk about it, maybe that's part of the corruption. The penny drops all of a sudden.
Isn't the corruption part of the corruption getting rid of the people that are doing the wrong thing?
Of course, but if they're within the police force and the policeman's got away with it so long, then how do you know there's not other policemen that have protected those people? How do you know? So why don't you care so much to find out? Because being a paedophile is worse than... Well, he just said he don't care. He said he can't talk about it. He don't want to comment.
No, he said he doesn't want to talk.
But to me, that makes me believe he don't care, because I'm a member of the public trying to draw out
I've just had a 10-minute conversation with you about all different subjects, but I'm not going to sit there and comment on...
But now it's got personal about the police force. You don't want to talk, and that's our problem as people that indirectly pay for our taxes.
But the thing is, you're wanting me to comment on subjects within the police that I have no control. It is my opinion. But
you do have control because you work with these
because there's relevant people within the constabulary who investigate and deal with it. And that's who the conversation should be with that.
But maybe if you spoke about it more amongst yourselves, you might find out things between you by camaraderie, by trust, and you might realise actually three of you might think the fourth one is dodgy.
The constabulary who, if we fear there's something going on, we can report it and it can be dealt with. But
I've reported people
exactly.
who've done the wrong thing.
There's a hierarchy thing. You have to report it to a hierarchy, and then they decide what happens from there, rather than you going out and doing it. So you're actually saying you have no power. You only got the power to report it to a higher being.
Well, if we sit there and deem that there's something going wrong or whatever, then yeah, we can report it through and then it gets investigated.
Why not act on it at that point, though?
Me?
Yeah, as an individual officer, as your job as standing as a public officer, why don't you act rather than report it to a hierarchy? Why don't you guys say, hang on, there's a bloody problem?
It becomes Chinese whispers, doesn't it?
Yes,
and then it gets lost in translation.
It's under the carpet then. It's a hierarchy, you don't want to act on it. Nothing.
Do you want me? I'm trying to answer each other.
Yeah, please, yeah.
Because we report it to the relevant people within the constabulary who are employed, and that is their job to deal with that internally. If it deems that it needs to be dealt with externally, then it's dealt with externally. But we go out to do our role as police officers.
Okay, here's another question. Why is there more emphasis on getting people arrested for and even dealing with the paedophile problem in your police force?
Yeah.
Sure, there isn't.
There is though.
There is.
Where I go,
There is.
there's everywhere. Everywhere is COVID mad. Everywhere. I walk down the shop, there's people wash your hands, but you don't have to, but you should do because he wants you to, but you don't have to. It's so confusing.
Shops are private premises. If someone says put on, you have to do it.
Not all
No, you
places.
don't.
I'm talking about public buildings, libraries,
No,
police stations, hospitals.
You just said a shop.
Well, that was an example, but I wasn't defining it just to the shop. I'm saying within society, it's gone mad, and it has gone. But that's not fair when the survival rates are so high, and actually we should be celebrating health and freedom and actually getting back to our own rights, which in my opinion I'm scared when people are being locked in their houses in some countries, and now the most countries in the world are going into with four and the countries that have like Sweden are doing much better than us, and I think to myself, where do we draw the line in the sand and think maybe we're getting it wrong, maybe don't work. Maybe we need to re-evaluate everything, because all these MPs are making money, all these people are corrupt, and all what's happening is people are becoming more disconnected. You're getting I can't even have an open conversation with a policeman. You spend more time putting posters up of me in police stations.
We had a 10-minute open conversation.
Yeah, but I want to talk to you about something more meaningful now, and you're not willing to do it. So when you're putting posters up of me just for going centre because I care about my dad on immunosuppressive drugs, and you've made me look like a terrorist in my opinion, and I am actually suing the police and for this against me, and I can show it to you on my phone. I can read it out loud if you'd like.
That's fair play,
but it's scary when you put that effort into making people worried that I'm going to go to and close it down when I went to my centre to ask about immunosuppressive drugs, adverse reactions because my dad has stage 4 cancer, and you've made me feel like a terrorist. But then you don't want to talk about paedophiles, but then you're going to knock on my door in case I've gone to a hospital to make a video of an empty corridor. I don't understand the logic of police
content. You've got your own situation with that.
I am ranting a little bit, but it's emotional.
It's an isolated case. I think there's many thousands of people feel this way. Many thousands.
The thing is,
Norfolk alone, many thousands.
Opinion on a matter that we have no information or understanding on in terms of what's personal to you. So.
Well, if you care about people in society,
this and this and this in this context, and then all of a sudden all that it's irrelevant to the situation.
So if I showed you something on my phone now that one of the superintendents of East Anglia signed, Nathan Clark, signed off, and you read it out loud, like if I was your brother or I was your sister or your son or your dad, how would you feel that they've done this to me when our father has got stage 4 cancer and I've actually gone to a centre to ask him? And then in turn, the treatment I've got from the police is actually quite abusive. I feel targeted. It's made me feel anxious.
Have you raised a complaint?
I have raised complaints. I'm complaining, I'm seeking legal advice, I'm pressing charges, I'm trying to do everything because no one seems to care apart from me. And you should care when you want to make people feel safe in society, but there seems to be more emphasis on attacking people like me, just standing up for my freedom and rights, than paedophiles or like knife crime we was talking about earlier. And these are serious subjects that, you know, really change society for the worse, in my opinion. And people are becoming disconnected, you know, and these people all can't be wrong. We just want to go back to living freely with an open world where we're not all being changed to...
The rest of the park, people are living quite freely.
But they're not. They're queuing up. They're standing in an orderly fashion because you're not even allowed in the building.
This is Britain. Who doesn't queue up in Britain?
Well, I can see what you're saying.
People
but
see a queue and join it.
It's desensitising the reality that we have changed our whole society to compensate for this. You know? There's traffic light systems to go in the Tesco's in the city centre. Traffic light systems. Do I look like a... Don't mind, that's stupid.
3 weeks to flatten a curve. No, I need a bloody passport to get a point.
There you go. They're actually installing certain things in certain shops, getting ready for the next wave of, you know, draconian measures, which you guys don't seem to care about. But it's scary for us, you know. As individuals that look at it every day, we're actually shocked, surprised, and very, I suppose, stressed the fact that you lot don't look at it, you know. And then you get paid to have a job, but your duty is to have a service to society. It's not just a job. It's beyond a job.
That's the whole of society, isn't it? It's not just
No. It's especially the police force. It's especially the healthcare professionals. It's especially the MPs. It's especially the people on television like the BBC and Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock and all these other people that have been influential. It's especially more important in their part because they are influential. I'm just one person that is insignificant in a massive ripple of billions of people. Whereas these people are one person that everyone knows, they're all household names, and they are setting the measures up for people that don't want to look under the carpet and see what's really happening, are being convinced that the are working. Right now, there's more people in hospital than there was last year. Right now, there's more people.